Hey guys, it's Ryan, and today I want to talk to you about why Kung Fu Panda is my favourite film. Kung Fu Panda is about a panda named Po who learns Kung Fu, and he becomes a better person because of the experience. It's labelled as a family-friendly movie, and it stands up to the label, so why on earth would it be anyone's favourite film? Well, number one, the casting and acting. I love all of the voice actors in this movie, and they all fit their characters for a multitude of reasons. Angelina Jolie as Tigress is gritty and proud, but with a caring centre. Randall Kim is wise and controlled, but he might be the funniest character in this entire movie as Oogway. And James Hong as Mr. Peng is a really loving father who cares very, very much about his son. Lucy Liu, Seth Rogen, David Cross, Jackie Chan, Michael Clarke Duncan, even Dan Fogler as Zeng. They're all amazing choices who bring great performances to an already stellar cast. But there are three performances that stand head and shoulders above the rest. Jack Black's casting, specifically in family-friendly movies, has mostly been the lovable goof. This was the case in School of Rock, this was the case in Gulliver's Travels, and this is the case in Kung Fu Panda. He represents Po perfectly from the get-go. He's the perfect channel for the target audience, i.e. kids who think Kung Fu is really, really cool, but they don't really know much about it. Just a little side note. Kung Fu literally translates as martial arts, so when I refer to Kung Fu from here on out, just know that I refer to martial arts as a whole. Po sees Kung Fu as epic fighting, and a way to gain respect and adoration from people, while being feared by your enemies. Which is a perfect goal for him because he's always wanted more out of life. He's been working at his dad's noodle restaurant for as long as he can remember, and he's never really felt like that was his place, like he belonged there. It's a classic Parental Expectations storyline, but we'll get more into that later. Jack Black does a great job selling the journey that Po is going through, and we really feel everything he's feeling throughout the entire movie. And, importantly, he makes us care about Po, which is why the animation really screwed the voice actors in the new Lion King movie. The voice actors are basically giving themselves hernias trying to emote through their voice in a sound booth, while the animation just looks really, really dead. Ugh, I need to make a separate video on that movie, but trust me, I've got some feelings. Jack Black really humanizes Po, and his efforts really bring the character to life. So, great job, Jack Black. I love you. Ian McShane is absolutely amazing. Before we even talk about the fight scenes with Po, with the Furious Five, with Shifu, we have to talk about the prison escape. I know that most of this gets put down to the animators, the composers and musicians, and even the fight choreographers, but once he's out, spoilers, he gets out, the audible sigh before the first line, and then that silky smooth quality to that sincerely menacing voice. Tai Lung is my standard bearer for a good villain. I'm not kidding. He's menacing, he's calculated, he's dastardly intelligent, he's got an amazing backstory, he's got a worthy goal that the audience can understand and sympathise with, and honestly, his voice is amazing. The dedication that Ian McShane obviously brought to making Tai Lung come alive is astonishing. It's right there for everyone to see. Look at it. Look at it. I cannot praise the team that made Tai Lung enough, and as the voice of Tai Lung, Ian McShane is incredible. We will come back to Tai Lung, but for now, we have to move on. Dustin Hoffman would not have been my first choice for casting a red panda who is a master of kung fu, but he absolutely knocks it out the park. Much like Jack Black did with Po, we care about Shifu because we can see his journey coinciding with Po's, and the voice acting is a large part of that. The character of Shifu is essentially a second protagonist, and yes, he does kind of take a backseat role in the sequels, but we can forgive that because we learn so much about his character in this movie. Everything said about Jack Black and Ian McShane applies to Dustin Hoffman. Great job all round. Number 2. The animation. There's a tricky line to walk down in animated movies when it comes to landscapes. It can look much grander than in real life, but it still needs to be believable and grounded in reality. I think Kung Fu Panda does a great job walking that line because there's so much detail packed into every single background and landscape that you can watch the movie 50 times in a row, and by the 50th time you'll still be noticing new details. The landscapes are beautiful, and the colour palettes that match them are so well thought out. The Snowy Mountain Prison is just as grand as the Valley of Peace, but they are completely different. I honestly believe that you could jump to any frame in the entire movie, and the landscape or background would be so impressive. You would be impressed. Honestly, if you want to challenge that claim, then please do it. If you find one landscape that looks shoddy, or a background that looks unfinished, then comment below and let me know, because I honestly can't find one. The detail on the character models is absolutely insane. All of the individual pieces of fur on Po, Tai Lung, Tigress, Shifu, Monkey, it all looks amazing. The detailing on Oogway's shell, the feathers on Crane and Zeng, the tough skin on the rhinos, the intricate markings on Viper's back, and the slick quality of her scales is remarkable. And the way that the detailing shifts and moves with the characters through their emotional journeys and through the fight scenes, it's honestly brilliant. Honestly, I don't know much about animation, but I could not conceive of doing any artwork this intricately. It honestly looks like magic to me. And all of the detailing in the character models and in the backgrounds blends perfectly for... Honestly, this section of shots and frames could literally be the entire movie. I don't think there's ever a wasted moment with the camera. It's absolutely stunning to look at. The way that the camera moves around the characters in the fight scenes makes us feel like we're actually watching it in front of us. We could literally reach out and touch the characters. Some very notable moments for me would be Po's training montage, Tai Lung's prison escape, the fight between Tai Lung and Shifu, and the Furious Five fighting Tai Lung on the bridge. I just think this movie is shot so beautifully, and I couldn't not talk about it. The animation quality may not be up to the standards of How to Train Your Dragon 3, or the new Lion King, which does look beautiful but definitely has other problems. However, to me, Kung Fu Panda looks amazing. Number 3. The themes and messages. We touched on this earlier, but Po's dad has an expectation for him, and Po doesn't want to fulfill it. Po's dad, Mr. Peng, wants him to run the noodle restaurant, and Po doesn't want to do that. Po has his own dreams, and that's okay. But equally as important, Mr. Peng has a dream for Po, and that's okay. Parents are always going to have dreams for their children, and that's okay, because all they want is for you to achieve your best. But as long as they allow the children to follow their own dreams, there shouldn't be any problems. And as soon as Po is chosen as the Dragon Warrior, Mr. Peng allows him to go and train. Granted, he doesn't have much opportunity to stop him, because Oogway just pointed at him in front of a live crowd, and he's being carried off up the stairs to the Jade Palace, but he lets him go nonetheless. This theme is actually dealt with in the very first act of the film, before Po gets chosen as the Dragon Warrior. He tells his dad he doesn't want to run the noodle restaurant, he wants to study Kung Fu. And I think it's important to show people that you can aspire for bigger and better things. This theme is just a setup for the main theme, but it is tied in very nicely with the secret ingredient soup. I love that soup. We move into this theme after Po has been chosen as the Dragon Warrior, because Shifu and the Furious Five are outraged, and they don't want him around. Shifu tries his best to make Po quit, because he doesn't think he belongs there. And actually, the tests that they put Po through are essentially a hazing process, and it's not a hazing process that's determined to make him one of the boys. It's to prove that he's not worthy. Po doesn't quit, but he does question himself, and it's not until Oogway boosts his confidence that he really pushes through and the Five start to respect him because he sticks around. Except Iris. She takes longer to come around. I think that's an important message as well, because even if everyone is telling you that you're not going to succeed at what you're trying, all it takes is for one person to believe in you to get your confidence up. So this one is centered around Shifu. So Shifu is absolutely riddled with guilt. He believes that he's the one that turned Tai Lung into a monster. And because he failed to stop Tai Lung the first time, his guilt has only gotten worse. Because it was his own weakness that prevented him from saving the valley. It's actually so bad that he almost turns away the true hero, the one who was meant to stop Tai Lung. There is a point where Po actually runs away and Shifu needs to stop him. But he can't even convince him properly. He's just doing it because Oogway told him to believe in Po. Through teaching Po, Shifu learns that people are who they are. Nurture can definitely play a part in how someone turns out, but their nature is undeniable. This isn't actually a fact, this is just a lesson that Shifu learns. I believe that it's more nature and nurture, rather than nature or nurture. This lesson is important because it shows us that we need to accept what's happened in order to move on to what can happen. The reason Po beats Tai Lung is because Po believes in himself. Po accepts that he is the Dragon Warrior and he was always supposed to be the Dragon Warrior. Tai Lung believes in himself plenty, but he believes in the power of the Dragon Scroll more. Tai Lung knows how good he is. He beats the Furious Five and Master Shifu all as just stepping stones to get to the Dragon Scroll. He knows he's great, but he believes the Dragon Scroll will make him better. Po believes that he will make himself better. Because Po believes in himself, his power actually comes from within him. And that's why Po's power continues to grow in every single movie. It really is a testament to the power of self-belief, and it's the perfect message for everyone watching, not just kids. If you believe in yourself, nothing will stop you achieving your potential. But it does help to have someone show you the way. So, this movie is beautifully animated, it's got great themes and messages woven throughout it, the cast is near perfect, and the acting is phenomenal. So far, it's got all the makings of a good film, but all of this doesn't really separate it from other great animated movies. What sets it apart, for me, is how much fun it is. There isn't a moment throughout the film where I'm not entertained. The fights are incredible. The physics don't equate properly, but that doesn't matter because you still believe the emotion and the drive. I love all of the character interactions in this movie, and every single character interaction is completely different. Po and Shifu have so many scenes together, but every single scene is totally different from the last one, and you can see the relationships developing with every single scene. And as an actor, I really appreciate what goes into every single scene. Shifu versus Tai Lung is completely fueled by rage and pain and betrayal, and it culminates with a moment of genuine regret and a sincere apology that even shakes Tai Lung. And that's just one example of a scene in this movie that's acted beautifully. There are so many others. There genuinely isn't a moment I would change in this entire film. For me, it's perfect. And that's why Kung Fu Panda is my favourite film. I remind you that favourites are subject to change, but for now, Kung Fu Panda is my favourite. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, then please hit that like button. If you didn't like it, then that's a real shame. Subscribe for more content, and please hit that bell notification to be notified of my next video. I've been Ryan, and I'll see you soon.